begin by calling the meeting to order and having the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, well, we begin with the roll call, and we don't actually have to sign in with a sheet any longer. Our roll call actually now suffices. So,
Nice. Oh, very nice.
Let's begin with Bill Grace.
Bill Grace.
Lori Wolf.
Betty Simpson.
Sherry Smith.
Barbara Hill.
Seal Spula.
Becky Warner.
Cindy Richardson.
I think we have a full house.
Allison Geesa.
Congratulations, everyone. This is wonderful. A great way to start January and our new year and our new
Certainly is.
decade. The approval of minutes. I trust everyone's had an opportunity to review the minutes.
Move the approval of the October 24th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second.
And seconded by Lori. And any question with regard to the minutes, additions, corrections? There being none, let's have a motion to approve. Oh, yeah, we've already done that.
just did. I was going to say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. And in the audience, so we will go
I know.
to the director's report. Allison.
Thank you. I put this in on your area today to, I'm sorry I didn't get this to you sooner. But I wanted to recap the rest of the lecture series. I will have you know we have sold out each and every one so far. If you missed Tanya, shame on you. She was fantastic.
She was so good.
I think Cindy said it best, you know, when she said, I didn't think I would be interested in this, and then it ended up being very interesting. So we really appreciate her coming down and sharing her research and information. It's very enthusiastic. We have really good lineup still ahead. So I also wanted to let you know about some project highlights that we're working on. I wanted to let you know the social media communications coordinator position. We are doing, me and the clerk's office are doing interviews on Monday, January 27th. So I shared that position with you. They're at our last meeting, somebody who will be helping social media and some special events for all our properties in the town of Fort Myers Beach. We're very excited to move forward with that. Also, as you all know, the Tourism Development Council grant application is open, so I'm working with Chelsea and other staff to get that prepared and turned in for next fiscal year. I don't know if you all listened to WGCU. Did you hear after the Wild Things, our Mound House advertisement? You didn't?
I did, and
You
it was
did.
wonderful.
So we've got
Whose voice? Holy cow.
well, they pick from a male and female. I always like to get both because I think they're both good.
What station is it on?
WGCU, so it's
Okay.
our, we're going to do a radio and TV. So we've got a really good media buy-in. That's the Arts and Attractions grant money from the Friends of the Mound House. So really excited, and they're working on our TV spot right now. So let me know if you hear it. I'm very excited about when they're putting them on because it's after some of my favorite segments on WGCU. So also, everybody knows about the fundraisers for the Friends of the Mound House. Christmas market was very successful despite the rain. We had a very good time. It was good to see a lot of community members coming out. And we're looking forward to the March 27th Artful Intersection. And moving down the list, our volunteer certification program. I want to thank everybody who's going through this first round. Looking forward to some feedback, and very excited that staff has gotten this far to get it off the ground. So also the accreditation for the Florida Society of Ethical Ecotourism, that is something that we're working on as well. It is kind of a lengthy process, but I wanted to let you know that we are working on that. We think it is a wonderful program and would like to be accredited for that. That's something actually Nancy McPhee is helping us to get started on that, and she is with the Lee County Tourism Development Council. She's the programs manager for Lee County. Also, I told you all about the Mound House book project that Pat McCowan is working on. He has sent out to 4 publishers. He really would like University of Georgia to be the publisher for the book. University of Florida, unfortunately, was not interested, and I'll keep you all posted on the progress. I do appreciate Bill in helping to edit and read over to make sure that the items, things in there are accurate. So thank you, Bill. This is really exciting, that centennial celebration. I'd love to be able to do a multi-day event. But if we don't do it for 2021, I still want to see about doing a multi-day event and a collaborative project with different things and different businesses and different organizations. So I'm very excited to be able to try to do that. It would be a great arts and attractions funding for that, because they have their events funding. And when I was at Edison and Ford, they used to receive $50,000 a year for that. And so it is very lucrative. Sand sculpture gets, funding. So if we could have a multi-day event, I'm really looking to position the Mound House and getting collaborative partners to be able to do a multi-day event. But the planning is very extensive, and I'm finding out it takes longer than I want it to. So I don't know that we'll make 2021, but we're already starting to gather our notes about what we could offer. So if you have any ideas on things that you've seen elsewhere or that you think would be a great idea, I'd love to hear your ideas on that. Really exciting, Holbrook Travel. We took that trip. Did some of you go to the one, Sherry? You went to the one.
It was wonderful.
So we're doing one to Cuba. I'm very excited to be able to partner with them again. And so I gave you a little itinerary. We don't have a full flyer out, but it's April 30th through May 7th. So we're very excited to be offering this. And of course, Penny has been really excited to help with the itinerary. She did have a couple of changes that she wanted to make and make it have, for instance, Trinidad, the historical town, and different things like that. So there will be changes to the Cuba itinerary as she's working with Holbrook Travel. She really would love to try to find out more information on the Cuba fishermen and things like that. So she wanted to try to do itineraries that would help relate it to the site that we have and the history that we share at the Mound House. So we're very excited to get some final, this is not the final one, but you can see the dates. And so, yes, Sherry.
I just put a call into her, but you may know where she has the payment schedule. She's got January 1st.
Yeah.
Is it February?
It's actually all that's going to change. There's just been a delay in getting this set up. And actually, there was an email from Lisa from Holbrook Travel, and they are working as fast as they can. It will be updated for the payment because they know that they need to get things in. But she also said that sometimes it does take a little, time to get things like this started. So, yes, Sherry, you haven't missed nobody's missed it. I know. So we've already got about 10 people interested. So we're really excited, and we hope that this continues to grow as we offer different venues. And again, if you have any suggestions on places you would love to go or you think that people would be interested in, let us know, because Holbrook Travel is a very reputable travel company, and I think the first trip went really well. And so we are looking forward to that. Penny is still working with the NOAA and FGCU on What's in the Water project grant. That's actually part 3, so she'll have new dates in 2020 to be set. She's working with Beach Elementary on a little student garden project. Lots of good collaboration going on there, so you can, I'll update you as those dates are to be set. And then the last one is really exciting, the collaborative project with Bay Oaks and Mound House for a youth trip to Costa Rica. This is a teen trip for 6th through 8th grade. And we're really looking forward to, we have actually a large group of teens right now that are on the island that we're at Bay Oaks. We're having teen programs now and camps because we didn't have that age group a couple years ago, and now we do. So there's been a huge turnout on, and what an opportunity to be able to spark interest in young people to be able to, study and to learn about new things. So this is something, I know it says Bay Oaks Recreation, but we're going to have Mound House on here because Penny is collaborating with Sarah Ashley. Let's go over at Bay Oaks to get this together. And we really hope that there is scholarship funding available for this, because it would be just a great way to really make a difference in a teen's life, especially at that age. So we will have an application process, and I will be reaching out to local friends groups as well as some of the other groups to see if they would be interested in partially or fully funding scholarships for these children to be able to have this opportunity. So we are just really excited about that. That's something I've always wanted to do.
You might, a way that the Community Foundation raised money for scholarships at their luncheon was, and Anita was sort of like the auctioneer for this, but she said, send a kid to camp, and she said, who's going to put in this much money? And then it just, so maybe
Grew.
for your artful intersection, you could
definitely.
raise money that way too.
That would be really great idea. Thank you, Cindy.
Will we also be doing science camp?
Yes, we are doing that. I'm glad you brought that up because I just had some email exchanges. We're going to go down to 4 weeks, though, instead of 10. I think 10 was way too much, and he's putting, I think it was a water camp in. I can't remember the name, but he has a marine biologist that's going to teach that, and what a wonderful segue into our What's in the Water project that we're doing currently. And so he is, so he said that, a good water quality program. So he's going to be putting that into the summer camp. So we are doing that again this year, and we'll get dates set here actually in the next month. But we did try, we did decide to scale it back and change a few things. We can always increase it the next year. But I think for our staffing right now and kind of the turnout, we would rather have 4 really full camps and then not have, 10, 5 or 10 for 10 weeks. So we're looking to actually have those dates really soon, but we are doing the summer camp. So the next page is just our student tours and special events. And I did it for January and February because we haven't met since I did this for a couple of months, so I wanted to go ahead and include February. And we have school groups coming back. We have our Road Scholars program that has committed to 2 of the Mounds Key boat tours, so we're really excited that they're offering that again. And also the Movie on the Mound, which is featuring the documentary Troubled Waters, and that's Friday, February 21st. It'll be free. Starts at 7. And
Fabulous. Has anybody seen that movie yet?
the documentary.
Have you seen that? The Troubled Waters?
No.
It's powerful, depressing.
Are we going to have popcorn?
We need to have something happy at the end, I think, yes. We need to do something. So yes, we can do refreshments. I know that there was mention of a food truck or a microbrew, but I have no idea how many people are coming, and those have a minimum, so I'm thinking popcorn, something, simple like we do for the.
Like we did before?
Yeah, would be very appropriate. Yeah. So we have some sponsors for that, and, it's being provided free for the setup and everything, so we're really excited that, to be able to offer that to our community.
Good.
And then our net sales and our numbers, just have to say, I don't know what was going on in December, but it was not a good month at all for the Mound House. I mean, we were down like more than ever. And I don't know, general admission was down. I mean, our store was up, as you see, but I know we didn't have as many school groups, but still, it seemed like things were just, the rental, we had a wedding last year, see, that was that 3,200. So as those pick up, but man, that was quite a bit of, but overall, we're still squeaking by being up in overall revenue. So,
What I think is wonderful is to see this fiscal year-to-date net sales. Because even with that reduction
Yeah,
in
we're still
in
going
Mound House
strong.
admission, if you look at the bottom line, you've actually done more with less. In other words,
Yeah.
even though you've had fewer attendees come to visit the Mound House, look at your bottom
Yeah,
line. You're
we're
still
still-
better than the previous 2 years.
we are, I am very
So,
thankful for
kudos
that.
to you and your team.
Thank you very
for
much.
making those figures happen, because that's not easy to do. But it does show tremendous and steady growth year after year.
Yeah, it does.
Barbara, you can thank my wife for some of that.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Susan and Bill.
Well, a huge jump in membership. The membership is a
Yes.
huge jump.
Yeah, the membership is really, especially online, people getting on there and signing up and then doing kayak tours and multiple things. Even when they're here for a month, it's really starting to catch on. And I'm just really excited to see that kind of support. So, and then you get to the last page, which is our visitor counts. And you see we were down, some. So, it's like Barbara said, I mean, overall, it's still strong, but, as we track these, we'll be able to, especially in the next 2 years, because then we'll get a really good baseline on our tracking, and we'll be able to compare and contrast and see if we can find trends and different things that we could maybe, utilize to make things even better for the Mound House, so.
Now, when we had that Christmas market in December, there were a lot of people that came to that that didn't necessarily have to pay admission,
Oh,
right?
right.
So would that have been, I mean, we advertised it well in advance, so do you think there were people that decided, well, I'm not going to go or even bring my friends, I'm going to wait till it's actually open to the public on that time, that day that the Christmas market occurs? Might that have made a difference?
Yeah, something I have, and it's true, Bill's like, what? This is true. When we are free admission, we get a whole different clientele, which means it's wonderful because they get in there, they find out about the friends, they buy stuff, and then they get in our store, and then they find out about our programs, and then they're like, oh, well, and it's a discovery phase. So would love to plan more free events, and if you all remember, we did a couple of free days for our residents, and we did this. I mean, we've had 2 or 3, and I would love to increase that, especially in the summertime, because a lot of residents talk about there's nothing that we really do in the summer because we are really seasonal based. Love to have some smaller events and then have some things just for them. Our lecture series usually goes through May. We'll continue to do things. The only thing is having things outside in the evening is not conducive to our weather in the summer. So we will have smaller things that we can provide in the orientation. I mean, we can put 50 people in there. We could have some kind of class or something that can fit 30, 35 people easily. So we'll be doing smaller programs, as far as events, but really looking forward to that. But I do think, Barbara, that's a good point, and it's a really great marketing tool and educational experience because, I mean, you all were there. You talked to people, and you know that people had never been here before. So I thought it was a really good turnout. And I love seeing all the neighbors and community members that I don't really get to see other when they come and visit. So.
And wasn't December really warm up north?
Was it?
I
Maybe
think it
that was why. See, we're all weather-based. That's the other thing. Maybe the people weren't down here. And then I have some of my members who are not coming till March, and they usually come earlier. So something, maybe. Snowing now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was freezing cold last weekend up north, and we had 4 on Saturday.
Oh, nice. Single digits.
Go figure, in December, actually, we were crunched several Saturdays.
Yeah, oh, and you know what December was here? Our wettest December in a very long time. It
Yes.
rained.
It did rain, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes, it
That
did.
was
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's the wettest December
Right.
we'd had, I think,
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
on record or something.
I think. I remember that. That's something to factor in because people they're just not coming to the beach and they're not getting out, walking around, doing anything when you have all that rain. And I mean, it had heavy rain. It wasn't just sprinkle. It was some good rain. Yes, Sherry.
And we also had, Gail said she had 6 people cancel that morning.
Oh,
That's still
right,
of the-
because of the,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I still think
vendors.
the visitor turnout was
But
really
the visitor
great.
was excellent, and they really enjoyed it, They kept reading all the signs. Becky and I were in the main room selling all the
Oh, in the
Maui
orientation
olives, and-
room.
Yeah, and they were looking over our heads to read all the, it was good.
It was. I really enjoyed working that event. So do you have any questions on anything that I've covered, or lots of exciting stuff coming up for this year?
Any more questions for Allison before we move on? Thank you very much, Allison.
You're
Great
welcome.
report. And I love the year-to-year comparisons. That's so informative. Our next item on the agenda is the placement of the National Register plaque. Yes. Oh, and so I guess we have a recommendation from Allison.
Well,
that
this came
perhaps
from,
what we might
I can't
want
take
to
credit.
see-
It was a brilliant idea. It actually came from Bill Grace.
Bill, I love the idea.
On the house, on the structure, right as you come in. Now, I mean, this placement's
Right
not
where that
exact, but
square
you
is?
get the,
Right,
you,
that
yeah,
little
I mean,
masking tape thing?
it'll be, centered or maybe closer to the door. I don't know. What do you think? They're going to be closer to the door? You think we should center it?
I think it should be centered right where you
Yeah.
have that black mark.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
I agree.
So Bill had suggested that, and I thought I love it because it's on the house. It doesn't affect anything. It's the original entrance to that historic structure, so
And it's protected back there,
it is.
Exactly.
the way it
That's
is.
true.
I like that.
Anybody who comes in will see it, whereas if you come in the
Right.
front and it's at the, you know.
Yeah, and then they want to go
Right.
inside, and then they're standing there, and
That's good.
Well, if it to be on the
Great idea,
house and
Bill.
not on a pole, I think that's wonderful.
or a rock.
Yeah.
Yes,
Need a motion?
thank you.
I think we need a motion.
think
if
we
can
do.
have-
And the
yes.
important thing is the
Board action, yeah.
material that it's being placed on is not any of the original
Correct.
material. You're not having to drill into the brick
Right.
and cover up the brick.
Very good
So,
Good
thought.
point.
You know, it's just perfect.
No,
I would
that's
like to
great-
make-
Great solution.
Yes.
I want to make a motion to install the Historic Register plaque in the space, centered in the space to the right of the entrance to the museum store.
I second it, Cindy.
Cindy, second.
That was
Any
Becky
other-
making
Comments?
that was Becky making the motion.
Yes.
I want to go down in
Cindy.
history.
And Cindy seconding. Any other comments before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you all very much. Well, that was a simple board action.
I can't wait to get the plaque up.
I was expecting to get everybody's disparate views and opinions about
Well,
where it
that
should be
one
placed.
just
and
really,
boom.
it was really good.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Well done, Bill. And I love the visual. Thank you.
I really,
Great.
yeah, I am
Might
visually.
that go in the record too in our minutes, that this is actually what we're voting on?
Yes.
Just as a visual, thank you.
All of these documents go to the transcribers, so the packet gets in there as well.
Okay. Wonderful. Congratulations. So when is that going to be installed?
I'm going to try to get the team to do it ASAP.
Awesome.
They may have to go get some screws, but we've got the plaque, we're ready to go, so. Oh, yes, for the, yes, Becky,
No-
for sure.
No rust, right?
For sure.
Newton Beach Park Strategic Plan Update. And I believe you all have a copy of that in your packet.
So, we look at our strategic plans every 6 months, thereabouts. It was time to look at Newton Beach Park to see where we are. So this was something that I updated, and we can go through it, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I think it should be advertised as the beach access with a bathroom.
Have you all seen the bathrooms?
No, I heard it was gorgeous.
Do you like them?
Very nice.
Do you?
What do you think, Allison? Do you agree?
The bathrooms are
Yeah.
great? Oh, they're so much better than they
Oh,
were.
okay, okay.
Absolutely. They did a phenomenal job. I thought it was a great update, and I have only heard good things, so, yeah.
What are the hours on that?
So the Newton Beach Park restrooms depend on sunrise and sunset, so it changes constantly. I usually try to, because people walk the beach before sunrise, I usually try to have it open around first light. And then a few minutes after sunset, because if you're watching the sunset, but there is no standard time because, our daylight changes, and so it just kind of depends on the usage and seasonality. And like now, I think they're closing, except when yoga is, they close at 6:30 and maybe they open at 7 right now. But, in 2 weeks, it's going to change again. And I try to keep track and have them adjusted. So it's kind of hard to say. It depends on, I tell people sunrise and sunset, for sure in those times that they will be open. And I usually try to do it because Mary Rose walks the beach early and she'll want to get in there a little early. So I try to accommodate for it. But, really it changes so much, especially this time of year because of the daylight. So usually sunrise to sunset.
I think as far as this strategic plan is concerning CELCAB, there are 2 items in this report that would require our attention. The first being, and actually it's on page
3.
3.
Both of them are on page 3.
Both of them are on page 3, yes. Under property improvements, 1 being selecting the paint color, and 2, adding the signage. So obviously, in terms of the timing, the first order of business for us would be to select the paint color. And what I'd like to see, and I'm wondering if other members here agree, that if there are some samples, that maybe when we have our next meeting,
You
we
can
can
look
put
at?
that issue on the agenda, that item.
Yes.
And then we can really have a conversation about the paint color that would be recommended.
So I want to kind of, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to kind of, see about what it would be for the palette. Do you want to keep it the same institutional gray that it is now? Would you like to explore something that is, I'm not saying bright orange, but something within the hue of the color that may be a little bit more pleasing? I'll bring the whole color wheel for the paint samples. I can do that, and then let you all decide.
I know that this particular building is not one of Bill Grace's favorites. So I don't know that, he wants to engage in this conversation. But for me, the cottages that were on Fort Myers Beach back in the 50s were almost always either white or gray, and then maybe in the mid-50s they started becoming a little more colorful with the asbestos siding that we used back then.
Yes, the tile.
Right, and the pink, of course, back during Elvis Presley's day, the colors were pink and gray. And if you notice on the beach, especially at the north end, you'll see a preponderance of that color pink, the asbestos siding. That came out of the influence of Elvis Presley, because Elvis Presley visited Fort Myers at that time. I went to his concert at the old exhibition hall, indeed.
Do you know what the historic color was?
No, I never
When the
saw
Newtons were
pictures of
there?
the original.
Has anybody done a scratch test to
I don't think.
see what that is?
A
That's a
paint
great question, to
analysis.
go all the way back to what the original color was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doing a scratch test.
The
you
paint
just take a
analysis,
piece of
yeah.
Right.
real fine sandpaper and
Go down
Sand
to
it
the
down.
down.
Well, and wouldn't that be in that material that the Friends have about the Newton House when they acquired it? There would have been,
Friends of the Newton
Not the
House,
Friends. It
the
was
Friends of the
actually- it was
Uncommon
actually the
Friends, right.
town. The
Oh, no,
town.
they wouldn't have anything like that.
They were, there was a lot of stuff that was
No,
handed.
no, no, no.
No? Okay.
My friend Corey lived next door. She probably remembers.
You want to ask her?
I will. I will.
Wonderful. So I will put this on the agenda for the next meeting and bring the color wheel, and we'll have a good discussion about that.
I would suggest that maybe when the community grant was written by Teresa years ago, when we were considering both buildings originally, that maybe that documentation, that file, that archive might eventually have
And I
the
can
original.
reach out to Paul, the original historical architect, to see if,
Great idea.
yeah.
I think that would be the best place to search.
I will definitely, and if we do some homework, we'll bring to what we find and see if anybody knows anything.
Well, the manual that on the Newton House has a picture.
Yeah, black and white.
Oh, I always thought it was sepia. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, it
it's sepia,
doesn't, I mean, you can tell if it's black or if it's but I mean, those are really, to me, are very hard to tell true colors of buildings that way. It's very tricky.
Second agenda item on our strategic plan concerning CELCAB is the signage. And so how do you want us to approach that, Allison, with regard to, is there someone that's going to be able to do signage for us? Are we going to wait until we have our branding in place and incorporate that? So we're on hold with that conversation until such time as RMA comes up with the master
Yeah.
plan, and then the town is in a position of implementing.
And that's why I put summer of this year. We can always change it, but so many things are going on, and you all have expressed interest to improve that, to make it more dramatic, to be able to, do something. I thought the paint color in this would be great to kind of, not, because the paint color will actually get done. I think I put October or November of this year. It'll be a new fiscal year. It's in the capital for this next year. And so I'm getting estimates with our restoration specialists, because Newton needs a little more than just a paint job. So it'll be great time to be thinking about those things so we can kind of unveil it and draw attention to it once it's repainted and looking good. And also like to see what's going on with the bocce ball court, if we're, so there's a couple of different things that I'd like to be able to start working on so we can kind of get it in motion. But the branding of RMA and that's for the town is something, and then once they come out with that, and then how are we going to identify ourselves as the town or as separate, then there's a process to go through to get signage approved, as we did. We have to go through the LPA, do the sign permitting and stuff like that. It's historical property, so they would have to approve it first, just like they did before. And it's just a process. So I want to get everything in place so I have time to kind of put that on the agenda and get that done in a timely manner, so.
Are we going to have a conversation about changing the name of the Newton House, or is that,
That's on the plan.
because if we're going to change the name,
Yes, I
possibly,
know.
we can't do the signage.
Idea.
Yes.
Great
Yeah.
idea. And that's on here.
Like
I
that.
think I put
I
that.
thought- yeah, I
We're
saw
talking
that.
about
I think
Seven
I-
Seas, if you remember, that was the original name of the house, right? But of course, the longer Newton Park stays up, the more difficult it becomes to change it.
That is on here, and
I
I
mean,
will
I think
look at that.
there were lots of us that
I did
voted
too, I just can't see where it is.
to take Newton, name
was a
Newton
long
off
term,
of
I
it. You
think.
agree too, Betty?
I do too, and I was thinking,
How in the hell did it pass if we all
Page
agreed?
5, top of page 5.
Oh, okay.
Different board.
See, page
Well,
5.
there was a lot of
Yeah,
us.
yeah, I see it, thank you.
But, we had a great sign originally.
The arch.
Yes,
Yes.
and it was so,
LPA didn't
Inviting.
approve that, though.
Exactly.
You
It
know.
was like, almost like a landmark. So,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
LPA didn't approve that.
oh, I know they
denied
didn't.
that. So, maybe we can, there's a couple of different things going on with the town, though, that I'll have to research to see the changes of acceptable things of, maybe how we could position that, or, what they would deem appropriate.
What designates a fence versus a sign? What designates a fence versus a sign? So for example, if you put up a fence, for whatever reason, could that signage be on a fence instead of an actual self-standing sign, which obviously would be in conflict with the town's
Their
ordinance, right?
yeah,
So I'm just
keep it
trying to get
low.
away, and I'm wondering why they opposed it. Is it just because it wasn't in compliance with our
Yes.
signed ordinance?
Yes.
That's the only reason? There was no
Yes.
compromise discussed? It's like either yes or no?
And that was when Parks and Recreation, I think Randy was the one that was putting that, so it was a little bit, I wasn't in the
Okay.
loop, but I remember hearing about that. I could, maybe look at the meeting minutes to see what they had, because I know I've got record of that, because that kind of,
I
you
think there
remember?
was another issue similar that was controversial on the beach. I can't remember what it was. And they couldn't very well have, given that an exception when they were enforcing it against this other party.
that's, yeah.
Good point, yes, that's true. In fact, that signed ordinance was just put into place, and
Yes.
all of the businesses
Yeah.
had to comply.
Right,
And
and
there was a
nobody
lot
was
of
happy
bad
about it.
blood during that time, so,
Well, it was the
because that's
arch.
been 5 years ago.
Remember where they would have wanted the arch?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Just a question, what do we have to go through if we do want to change the name?
I don't know, that's a good one.
And,
I will
it's summer
find
of
out.
2022, but we've got a lot of things to think about. I mean, there's a lot going on that changing the name might preclude our going forward on like
Some
signage
things,
or things
true.
like that. So maybe consider moving that up and, yeah, in your
Good
spare
idea.
time, find that out.
Made
Yeah,
a
the height
note.
of season, right?
At your relative leisure.
Let's do it
Yes.
tomorrow.
Just wondering.
I was wondering, on page 2, it talked about the coastal ecology beach walks. Are those just the difference between the the twice-a-week ones, is this just a more physical, longer kind of?
It is, and it is, not that it's our volunteers are wonderful, but we have our educational staff, so it is somebody different, which will bring a different perspective or focus on a different part of the environment or ecosystem when they go, so they're kind of themed. So they're a little more in-depth. And I had noticed, I had not caught it until this, I've got the beach walk signs that say free beach walks Tuesdays and Thursdays in the process. But they've put some of these ecology beach walks on Thursday, so I'm gonna have to wait till March to put the sign up. But it is a little more in-depth, like Penny led the one today. So it's about different, it's more specific, it's not just general where you walk and you talk in general about. So it is a little more inclusive as far as, and between Katie, Beth, Dexter, and Penny, they kind of trade off on some of the things that they talk about with that.
And under the recreational programming, we can count yoga in that?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I put bocce ball because those courts are just sitting there. But I hear it's a really popular sport, but, you know, so I got to figure out what's going on there.
Okay.
So,
Is it because somebody doesn't have their own equipment?
well, yeah, I think it's that and the signage, and I think nobody knows about it. And would people go to it if we did have it? Is it good to play in that area? I mean, are those courts big enough? I mean, they were designed that way. But I think it just takes a little bit of advertising and letting people know. We have sets of bocce ball courts that we used to let people, but the problem is just leaving them out, you know.
Right.
I mean, so then you have to have a staffing person, whether it's a volunteer and see, there's a lot of things in here that say budget item because that would require an additional labor.
Allison,
So,
which, an idea that would not require staff. If you could reach out to some of the condominiums, many of those have bocce ball teams.
Oh, wow.
And maybe sponsor a
Little tournament or something.
tournament.
That would be great.
Great
idea, Lori.
Or if they don't have a place to play, like at our place,
They
they
can-
play down on the sand, but.
Yeah, that's great. Do you know of any of the ones, we have quite a few condos, so do you know of any particular ones, or start with
The
Ron
one behind 7-Eleven, what's it called?
Landisi, who does the,
It's Island
7-Eleven.
something.
Yeah.
Uh, Across from Santini.
Yeah.
Down by Santini.
Yeah, right.
Terramar. Yeah, I know they have a bocce
Yeah.
team,
oh, great.
or they did
They
3 years
did.
ago.
Great idea. Thank you, Lori. Oh, well, maybe he still knows somebody who? What was the name of the condo association?
Terramar, Terre,
Uh-huh,
MAR,
yeah.
A, Terra, A.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that was the MAR part, I forgot. Okay, great, yes, that would be very good.
When they
You know,
first
it's
started,
possible, just an article in the paper about,
Yeah,
well, we have these courts. Do we have people on the beach who are interested in forming teams to play here? We've got picnic tables under cover. We've got, please contact Allison
bathrooms,
Geeson, Interstate. We have bathrooms. Oh, yeah, that's a biggie for those older people.
you got
or
everything.
some of us that are a little younger.
Yes, yes. I was trying not to say men.
With specific issues?
Yeah. Understand.
All right, great ideas, really love those, thank you.
You also talk about the local concessionaire, which I know we talked about before, and you probably told me, but I cannot remember what the town's rule is about food trucks.
So, yes, I'm still, getting specifics, but I think it's Bonita that doesn't allow them either. There's where they don't allow food trucks to be able to, but like at the market at the Beach Baptist, they have, well, their booths, I guess, are different. So I think there are some exceptions, depending on the event. So Mound House, I have the exception to have food service there as part of our event. So I'm hoping, Cindy, that it would be the same for Newton. I just have to go through a process of approval. and then get them to see if they would offer me a special exception or something. It is. I mean, think about it. You know, you don't have to really do anything to the inside. They're self-containing as historical property. I do like things to be contained in a truck. I don't want them getting out there barbecuing and, you know, things like that. So I am working with community development to see if I can, you know, legally, you know, have something like that. And then see about getting rotation in for things like that for different food trucks. Because we have other properties for the town that we would like to have that. The pool needs something. I mean, people get thirsty and the vending machine doesn't always. We have all those summer camps and,
Right.
you know, and there's just a need. Either we get a local vendor or a restaurant to come and provide things, or we can get a food truck that can come in and help. So
Sorry.
I will research that further, Cindy, and see about.
We had an ice cream truck and had friends and had ice cream, and kids came, and that was a big success. We didn't make a whale a bit of money, but people came, and we made it for dessert, remember?
Yep.
I think
Yep.
I've got the
But
card
it's the idea
someplace.
of ice cream.
And we made it at an event there and had an ice cream truck. And it was a big deal.
Was it a big truck or like the one that goes to the neighborhoods playing those
No,
songs?
it was like the one that Love Boat has, Love Heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Remember?
I think the other Barbara Hill organized that. It was an ice
Yes,
cream social.
exactly. It was an
Right?
ice
She
cream
had
social.
Social, uh-huh. And that was
And
around
It was a
2005.
Saturday night, Friday night, and if it
I've
was
seen
raining,
pictures
we
of that.
moved it to Saturday.
I think I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah.
And that's when she would do her annual membership drive. And then there was a little piece of paper.
I think so.
I'm getting your money and you're.
Here, have
fill
some
out
ice
the
cream.
paper, and that was the membership.
We had 45 members at that point, at one of those years.
Exactly. All right, any other comments on the strategic plan?
Just one question I saw here where I was just questioning the breakfast on the beach, the conservation cafe. Are we still, was it Dexter? That
It was, what page is that on,
That is,
Sherry?
I'm sorry, that's
That's
on
okay.
page 2, about halfway down, number 3.
That was always a big success.
Yeah.
And Dexter gave us snakes and
Just wondering if
birds
that,
and
yeah, is still in,
program.
So, yes, right now we're starting with Coastal Ecology Beach Walk.
okay.
And then we will see about, you know, offering those other two. Because we were thinking, we've already done February, so maybe for March and April, we'll be bringing those back in for sure. So we'll look for those months. We started with Coastal Ecology Beach Walk for February, and then January we did the 2 beach walks, and we're doing Coastal Ecology, and then we'll add in the other 2 for the rest of the season. Yeah, they were well attended.
Besides Gail is doing the beach walk.
Louise is doing,
okay.
and then Gloria is also, I think she's still doing those sometimes. Maybe not, she might not be doing it during season. And then, you know, then staff fills in. But I do know Louise and Gail are pretty much, Penny did the one today, but they're pretty much the ones that are doing those in season. So the budget item, I've put some of those in. It means I need to ask for additional money to be able to fulfill the requirement. So that's what I'm working on, is to be able to budget if X, Y, and Z, then either staffing or something, equipment, something in the budget to be able, because here in the next 4 months, we're gonna have our budgets for the next fiscal year, right? Because it'll be summertime. We actually start it usually in May, so I don't think it's too early to start identifying those needs to see if the council wants to continue progress on this. Because it's not my, I don't want to be stretched too thin. and not offer quality programming and have something else suffer. That's not, and we need to maintain and keep going up what we're doing now and then add on things and keep that strong, so.
Was there any requirement or any incentive for us to track people who use Newton Park on an annual basis?
There was, yeah, there, in the plan, there is to schedule volunteers to be able to capture and talk to people and to be able to capture information from them. So that is in the plan to be able to do that.
Because it's very hard without staff being there.
Oh,
For us
sure.
to gauge just how
Exactly.
successful we're
Yep.
being with regard to, you know, the interest and the attendance.
What's the parking revenue? Do we get that?
No, we do not. I can let
We
you know.
used to.
What that, I don't think we did. No, we never got that. I really don't think we ever did.
I just remember hearing Teresa say that is a big part of our revenue.
Yeah, it's not small.
No, but that would also be an indication of use.
Yeah, and what I had argued is, you know, when you're looking at the budget and you're looking at the site as a whole and you're looking at the assets that it has and things, I think that should be included, whether it goes back into, you know, I mean, everything goes into the general fund, but I just wanted people to be able to understand that, you know, the parking is a great asset for that property, because there were talks of getting rid of Newton Beach Park and not having them, you know, not keeping it as an asset because it's costing, but really it doesn't, because it has the parking. I mean, there's a lot of potential there, so.
You get support funding from
TDC,
TDC.
absolutely, we do.
And so it is an asset for the beach and an asset for Lee County, and I think everyone recognizes that.
Yes, I think.
It would be interesting to look at the parking income. I mean, in general
can get
fund
that
is
to
fine,
you.
but it should be somewhere to offset the cost to Fort Myers Beach of Newton Park.
I can ask parking to get that, Doug, to pull that. I've had him do that because I've had questions come up from TDC members and different on, you know, what the, and also we report that to the Florida Communities Trust on things that they require as well, so.
Well, in actuality, though, I mean, let's face it, Newton Park and Mound House they're both owned by the town, and there are operational expenses on an annual basis incurred by the town on our behalf, because this is something that we really totally believe in. So whether that parking revenue goes to Mound House or goes to the town, I think it really is not an important issue, because the revenue goes to the town, and the town supports both entities.
But I think if people saw parking revenue and saw it offsetting the cost of maintaining it as opposed to tearing everything down and selling 2 lots or 1 lot, that would be, I mean, it is an upkeep cost. And I don't mean that Newton Park should get the income, but
Recognizing it.
just recognizing that it's there. Maybe that's what I heard before, is that it amounts to something. And getting it out of the quarter thing was a big deal.
Yeah,
Who carries that many quarters? I mean, it'd weigh you down.
Well, Becky, and I have to agree with you, this was an issue when Teresa was the cultural director, and there was a very separate department between Parks and Rec, if you remember. We had the recreation department, that was Bay Oaks, and then we had our cultural facilities, right? And so that revenue just went to the Mound House. So Becky, you were right. And then during the time that Teresa her job was shifted with Parks and Rec, that's when that
That's when
revenue
it-
shifted.
And it was Parks and
Do you
Rec that
remember
took it.
correct? Isn't that right?
Said that.
Yeah.
And they took Newton out, and they took Parks and Rec, and left Mound House high and
Yeah,
dry.
and now it's totally different with whatever audit requirements are, you know, are needed. So that it has to do with something far beyond, cannot speak.
Well, it doesn't have to
about,
show as income to
but,
the
yeah.
property, but
Yeah. But it's no longer a part of a line item for revenue for Newton. It's for parking, but.
Okay, anything more on the strategic plan? Thank you for updating this, and that's part of our plan as well, is to not only have you update this, but then for us to, it was biannually?
Yes.
for us to review, to see what the progress is and how we can be a part. Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome. If you all have any more suggestions, you gave me a lot of good ones today, let me know, because this is our working document. So if you think of something else.
I would really like to, and I think I said this before, so this is redundant, but consider renaming and doing it now so that signage could do that and,
To reflect.
yeah,
I'd
and,
really like to
yeah.
do that too, I agree. And it's
So maybe we
interesting
should all
because it
come up
sounds-
with our
It
favorite.
sounds to me like all of us agree that that would be a great idea.
And you know, there was other conversation on this years ago. We had I don't remember exactly the name of it, but it was a town committee, and it was the Newton
Okay.
Committee. And I was on that, and I've probably still got the files from it. But I'm thinking it would be something if I could go through some of those and see what we had, see what we were actually thinking of in those days, because I don't think there was ever a groundswell among that original group that said, we want this called Newton Park. And I think at that time, the thinking was, if it had been given by them,
The Newtons.
then they would have those naming rights. But I just remember some of that from long ago, and but I'm sure that we had some logic in there, so I'd like to get a chance to go through some of those.
Go through that, Betty, that would be
Yeah,
really
that
helpful,
would be
because
kinda-
those were my recollections as well. But do you remember that Fort Myers group? And I'm trying to remember, Uncommon Friends, that nonprofit group. And what they were trying to do was branch out onto Fort Myers Beach to say James Newton had a very big presence on Fort Myers Beach, and the tie-in to Edison was supposed to be a very good thing. I don't know how active Uncommon Friends is, but I think that was the reason why Newton, am I right, Lori?
No,
Am I-
no. They didn't want to have anything to do with the Newton Cottage. They were in the business of promoting business ethics, not historic preservation. What's his face? The former county commissioner, Albion. John Albion came and talked to us because we wanted them to participate, and they didn't want to have a thing to do with it. And do you know what? It wasn't 2 months later that they moved into the borough zone.
Right. So much for
Go
historic
figure.
preservation. But did
But
they?
no, they didn't want to have a thing to do with it.
But are you suggesting that they didn't recommend to our council about the
Absolutely
name?
not, no.
They didn't care one way or the
It
other?
wasn't them, it was a handful, a clique of people on the beach that thought the Newtons,
Right,
Greater than God.
yep.
Right.
And there
and that's the reason for it,
Right.
and the sole reason for it.
And was there not like a tie-in, Sherry Smith? To the TDC?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. I know, but I
Other
mean
than the
the
fact that
influence.
a couple of those
The
people were
influence.
on the TDC.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And still very active.
It's
And
it's
still are.
there. It's still are. So that's the,
But the historical.
Okay, so I
okay.
think the
So-
consensus among our group here is to revisit the name, come up with some recommendations, see what it takes to implement that, how we change the name of a historic facility. You know, is that even feasible? Who checks on that?
I'll check on the policy with the town, like, you know, what the requirement is. I would like to hold some public meetings and charrettes or something to see, kind of just this could be at our strategic planning, you know, this had a lot of heated conversation, and so I want to make sure that we get all the history and the story and get the way in and see which way, what's going on over there?
What is that?
It's Lori.
My phone's making noises. I'm very sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I think one thing to consider also is that we would be changing the name to augment the, or add into the rebranding of the town. And it is not a rejection of,
Yeah, be a good
because they
segue
were
in.
the people who built the cottage and who lived there, but the name is not inducive to making people want to go there. I mean, so what, who cares? Is
Seven
it?
Seas was what they named their cottage.
And it's probably Isaac anyway, so.
Well, there's quite a few years that have passed when all the talk about this has, and there may be a whole new group of people who didn't even know about this. So I think when we broach this about changing the name, because even like the Seven Seas has so much more romance to it, then it gives us a whole new start that I think the group that was against this are long gone.
Well, and they no longer are thinking about the little white hanky at the door.
That was very good. Okay, great.
Okay,
Great
so
conversation.
I'll put that
Always.
on the agenda for next time to
Wasn't
discuss.
that Ellie
and-
Newton that did that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Wasn't
And I don't
just
care
Ellie, it
if you
was
stopped
Jimmy
over for
too.
coffee. She did it. As you left, she did it.
And
her
she rang the
signature.
bell at
when you were
Christmas.
in-
I'll never forget that at Publix. That was amazing.
Rang the bell.
The Salvation
Oh, Salvation
Army,
Army.
and she was 100,
Wow.
so amazing.
She was a saint.
Okay. Saint Ellie's Seven Seas.
All right. Moving on, shall we start with Lori for board member items?
Yeah, actually, I would like to say I have enjoyed taking the certification class so much. I'm so glad I signed up for it, and I've just gotten so much out of it, and I hope to be able to do a little volunteering in the summer.
Wonderful.
I think I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to the garage.
Get her files out.
And I just want to reiterate too, what Lori said, I think the staff has done a fabulous job, so
Good.
thank them.
I just have one comment. I had a friend who is a seasonal resident, and she told me last night that virtually every one of the guests that she has coming for the season, for various times during those months that they're in town, that she always takes them to the Mount House. And each time she goes, she learns something new because she's been getting different tour guides. And she said every one of her visitors have been so thrilled to have discovered the Mount House. And each time she goes, which now has been many, she gets so much out of it. So kudos to the staff and kudos to the docents. One other question I have, and I didn't check the Mount House strategic plan, but is there any plan for a request for funding for a larger video screen in the underground exhibit?
There is, that is part of the update for the because we need to do stabilization. We need to figure out, Bill knows about this, I'm working on with the state to get that, and at that time, all the audio visual will be replaced and updated. I've got an estimate from Strong Vision, who did the original, to see about our options, but yes, absolutely, because we also need to update our equipment. I mean, it's they don't even manufacture it anymore. So yes, Barbara, by standards of that, it's a very small screen. Nobody even, and it's very far away, so.
And I think at the time when the underground
Oh, it
exhibit
was-
was
it
being
was
designed, that was
fantastic.
pretty high
It was
tech, if you remember.
fantastic, yeah.
But now all of us are so
Yeah.
much more used to
Yeah.
larger screens, and when people are sitting in that audience, it becomes a
It's
real
hard to
distraction
see.
that it's just simply not large enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the current video that we're showing, we're still going to continue to keep that.
Absolutely, I don't know that we should change
No, I think it's
Bill, what-
relevant. There's
Bill?
nothing that dates
I
it
think
at
it
all.
could be, updated.
A little bit.
There are some things that we've learned
that are, yeah.
that
could be added.
that could be added or edited in
Or spliced in or
But
something without
definitely we need to
redoing.
keep Teresa there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
But,
So we can just add to what we have existing,
yeah.
yes.
Great.
but not redo the whole thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
have any idea about the funding that required to replace and update all that equipment, just the equipment itself?
You know, she was here when we had well, I would say it was after Irma, but no, it wasn't. It was something else that we had a issue. Do you all remember when some of the lights weren't working down there? They came down, I think they came
Right,
down this
yeah.
summer. She was gonna send me some information. Actually, she hadn't done that. So I'm still waiting to see what type of equipment is recommended and then what we can upgrade. So I haven't gotten that, but it is on my capital to be able to replace that. So it's got a placeholder. I just
Okay.
don't have anything concrete yet to say,
Would a
what's the
light
cost.
band in place of those rope lights
We
be
had
part
talked
of that?
about different options for that as well. So we talked about, there's multiple options. Because, the rope lights keep moving.
Yes, they sag.
Right,
And then you can see all those cords, even though they keep getting disguised, but
So it'd be great to have something cordless.
right.
yes.
Excuse me.
It'd be great to be able to just have a light projection rather than objects themselves, if there's some kind of a screen that allows for that
To
projection.
project onto instead of
Onto-
having it.
yes,
Exactly.
Exactly.
That is actually what I recommended that I wanted to start with, because it would be, I don't want anybody having to get in there. I don't like that. I think it's just, every time somebody does, it just, and it's not often. Nobody gets in there except me. Or somebody like Search was in there, but, and I'm certified, I'm okayed by the state because of my background. I can actually do that because I, considered,
Qualified.
yes. So, yes, I think all that would be really good for just the stabilization and just, because nobody needs to get in there and change a light bulb or change something or, yeah. So I did start with that.
So
for a
when you're
projector.
talking about a placeholder for capital improvements, are you talking about a particular fiscal year?
Yes, when you do your capital plan, all your major equipment that you have has a time frame on
Life.
renewal, a life, yes.
life,
So
I see.
I'll have to refer to that, but I kind of guesstimated because I didn't really know. And then as as you update and because, things happen at never the right time that you put in that it should happen. Do you all know that?
So you're saying,
Capital, it's supposed
in
to
other
be like
words,
next
does that presentation have to break before it is replaced? Or is it?
No, it has a lifespan. So here's how the capital works. You give your best guesstimate on when things need to be replaced.
Oh, okay.
Some things have had to be replaced, like the air conditioner on the second floor of the Mound House, before it's actually due to be replaced on the capital. And so I work with finance to mature it, and then you may have to move something around and maybe wait on something else as you had to put that one in and so on and so forth. So you don't just forget about it if it breaks, you move it to the front and then something else, you can see if it shifts. Does that make sense? Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
And when we do the strategic plan, Barbara, I'll make sure to reach out to Brenda to see if she can give me some numbers that are better than mine for that update.
It could very well be like, in the AAM magazine or some with AAM resources on their website. They may have
Something that would work
companies
for us, yeah.
that do this, obviously, because we're not the only
No.
game in town that requires this kind of equipment.
Right.
Well, I must say, I am absolutely thrilled where the historic plaque is. I didn't think it could be on the building. I am really surprised, and to see it right there with the white is just marvelous. When did that idea come up? Right away?
It actually came up in the middle of the night. I was going,
What night was that?
and I thought, well, right there by the door. And then I thought, no, you can't do that. There's a window there. So the next day that I was there, I came around the corner and I went, there's no window there.
Perfect.
It's
That's
brilliant.
not the original material. That's not where the important photographs are taken.
Oh, because when we talked
It's
about it.
obvious to everybody that comes into the
Oh,
museum.
Perfect.
Why not? So I
Because it-
emailed Allison, she emailed me right back and said, perfect.
In the middle of the night.
yes,
No,
because.
no, this is after I paid my visitation to
Oh, yeah, but-
discover the windows weren't there.
So it can be placed on the building, because that isn't original material.
Oh, most places just slap it on the front door.
So that was something, as you all know, Bill is very particular about, which one thing I do love about him, he's a purist with that. When you're taking a photograph of the Mound House, you know, of the structure itself, you don't want to have some modern neon, and it can be applied, you know, so it actually is wonderful because it's still, it just, it's just perfect. 'cause
It's just
still on,
perfect.
Everybody sees it.
Bravo.
It's on the building.
Bravo.
It is, and you can still take that photograph, even from the side, and not even be able to see that, because it tucks it in. It would
And the
be-
tourists can actually, they can go stand in the shell and take a picture of themselves, you know. by
Exactly.
The selfie
That's
station.
why.
Oh, it just is perfect, just perfect.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So I am reiterating a plea that Penny was very passionate about. On February 3rd, Town Hall, regular Town Council meeting, is a meeting on the walkover at the far south end, and they have been turned down once. They are going back. They are trying to get it again. And the thing is, I have been approached several times at Cresciente by people, can't we have a walkover? And also at Estero Beach and Tennis, why don't we build a bridge over the lagoon when it used to be bigger? So for a number of reasons, it's a really, really bad idea. First of all, it will disturb birds. And I think one of the comments from the council was, yeah, but it's not going to bother the fish. Well, fish are different than birds, as Penny says.
One swims, one flies.
Yeah, and there are endangered, I think she said either 5 or 7 state endangered species of birds that use our beach. And that they also have a permit to cut down the mangroves on the shore of, not on their shore, but on, I thought, on one of the shores. I'm not sure which one it is. It's either theirs or, you know, but bounding the lagoon. And they got that permit a number of years ago. Anyway, talk to Penny, but really, the more people that could be there, or email your town council people. And, you know, they're thinking, well, you know, it's no big thing. But frankly, if there's one, pretty soon there's going to be 8. And that's going to be huge. Now, if they would agree to allow anybody to walk through their yard and designate, give right-of-way to the town to get to their walkover, that might be more thinkable. But I don't think that they would agree with that at all. So I think we could push that if they're going to get one, let's make access from Estero Boulevard, yes. But anyway, it's just, and I think that they can go really far. It's just such a bad idea, and frankly, it's not a long walk. And the lagoon was there when they bought the property, pretty much. And the fact that they can now go around the way south end is very different, because you didn't used to be able to do that.
That's absolutely true.
So February 3rd.
And the other issue, this is a very dynamic barrier island, and I want to tell you, 50 years ago, none of that sand was ever there.
That's
That
exactly
sand-
right.
I mean, that
30
sand
years
was
ago.
just not there.
And look at the Leonardo Pier. It's almost buried in sand, or
So the
less.
Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Yeah.
Come a storm, it could all be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we'd all have trash in our yard from this boardwalk and walk over.
True.
And frankly, it's a money-making deal for the people who own that house. I think it might be called Texas Hold'em.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
quite
is.
sure
It is
about that,
Texas
but that,
Hold'em.
I'm not sure that they
LLC.
need any extra revenue, and I think it would destroy, you know, we talk about the funky part of Fort Myers Beach that we like, and as it disappears, you know, with the mega mansions, there's no longer room for much vegetation or trees around them. So we're losing that, and we don't have any control over that. But the critical wildlife area, we do have control. And until the Lord washes it away.
Well said.
February 23rd.
Got it, third.
Third. Yeah, I have no comments. I've already asked my questions, so that's it.
All right, thank you. Shall we look at a future meeting date? What suits everyone?
February 27th?
Do we need a February meeting? Yes, because we're going to be, well, actually, we don't really have any, except for the signage. If Betty would, do you want to do a report by next month with regard to your findings of Newton Park
Or
for our next meeting? Or do you want to wait
Should we
for
do it
another
in March
couple of
or
months for
February,
you
do
to
you
give you time for research?
No, because I'm going to do the one for Bay Oaks on the 3rd, or CELCAB, I should say. Then we have Bay Oaks the next day. Yeah. Okay.
We do.
Yeah. So I probably would not at that time.
Okay, now, what I'm asking is, when would we want to have our next CELCAB meeting? Do we need to have one in February, is my question? Because I think the only issue on a future agenda would be...
Wait till March?
Wait till March.
We don't need to have a meeting in February.
March 19th is the 3rd.
Well, and if, Betty, if you,
26th.
if you find information on the names, that could be sent out via email.
Well, I can
Just to
send
think about
anything
that.
like that to Allison.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she'll put it out to everybody. Yeah. And we always have to go through
March 26th?
March 26th.
March 26th is what I have for our CELCAB meeting. Is
Good.
that going to work for everyone?
Yes.
All right, so. I just need to see when CELCAB is scheduled to give their report to council. So, thinking it's sooner than later. Can I send you all?
I think it's the 17th. I think it's the 17th,
I think you're right.
because we've got CELCAB on the 3rd, and I noticed
Oh,
that
right, yes.
CELCAB was
It's
right
actually the
afterwards.
18th because the 17th is a town
Yes.
holiday.
Yeah.
So thank you, Betty. Yes, it is. So can you all select somebody now to who's going to give that report, and then I can work with you all on making sure it gets submitted to council?
I'd like to volunteer to give the report to council for February 18th from CELCAB. Any volunteers?
I'd like to nominate.
Yeah, I did it last time.
All right, and then I'll coordinate with you,
Sure, Barbara,
Allison,
yes.
on
Thank you.
specifics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're going to elect 3 new town council members, so we should have some big deal and haul those 3 new people to the Mound House and indoctrinate them.
Indoctrinate.
That's a good idea.
True.
Do you think they need it? I
Yes.
mean,
Well, maybe not, but
yeah.
I think we should do it anyway.
Okay.
And feed them, and then they would be
Good.
receptive.
Indoctrinated.
Have them go to a lecture,
Or blessed or whatever.
and the food is already there.
That's very good.
All right.
Let me
so-
make one more comment.
Yes.
The classes have been wonderful. Staff is great, and so have our guest speakers.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And he has spoken a lot.
Yeah.
Between a training and everything else, a lot.
For the
I'm taking a break now.
I move that we adjourn
I'll
at
second.
4:12.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
I'll
Who
second.
Sherry seconded. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all, and it is 4:12 PM.
Excellent.
Okay.
No more sign-in sheets.
Good.
Good.
I think probably
Okay, see you, Cindy. Tell Chuck hello.
I learned how to sign my